good morning everybody. We've got our newest project arriving here. So this is, I believe it's a fruehauf lead, but I guess I'm rusty at it. But at any rate, got this dump lead and it has got some massively wore out rear suspension. And we've got to torch this stuff all apart and fabricate some new suspension. So I'm going to bring you over here, show you what we got, and then we're going to have at it. So we got a bunch of work to get done. And today, this is Monday morning, they want this thing back on the road by Wednesday. So whatever happens here has to happen in the next 2 days. So we're going to get at it. So you can see this, as far as I can tell, originally started, I think, as a casting. And it was just a U-shaped casting that was welded in across here. It has worn completely through the floor of it. It's into the frame. You can see it's hollow up inside there. It's supposed to be a plate all the way across there. The other side here were out first, and they welded in this to, try and give it some structural integrity. So anyway, she's hurting bad. We're going to get to it and see what we can accomplish with knocking this bugger apart and hopefully getting her back to good and healthy life again. All right, so I'm going to show you something here that's pretty important and some serious high tech on these kind of projects. So the other side, this is all just completely destroyed, hacked up. You can't even tell what shape it originally was. Here, it's about to blow through, but we can basically see what it is. There's a strong likelihood that I end up torching this entire side plate off from here before this is all said and done. It's so trashed, it's probably going to need a whole new one. That said, it's very important to not just go whole hog chopping stuff like this apart until you get a baseline. So this is where in my shop we use a lot of CAD. I realize I got a lot of old machines here, and you guys probably don't think that I do much with CAD here, but I do. I use CAD extensively in this kind of project. So I get out my cardboard, and CAD, by the way, is a cardboard-aided design. And you chop yourself out, do a little carving, and get yourself some templates made before you go hacking stuff up. So just for future reference, if you hear anybody around my shop talking about CAD, this is probably what they're talking about, some good quality cardboard-aided design. So that'll give me a piece, and because the two sides are identical, I can take this chunk that I've, mocked up off from the side that's mostly intact and take it to the other side, and I'll probably end up just using this as a template to cut out some entire new side plates. So I'll probably, I don't need one here, that's just a flat plate. So this is probably the only CAD that we need on this particular project. But I thought I'd show you that, just give you a little CAD lesson here as part of this project. Alright, got the wheels fought off, so I don't know how much you could tell from the slow-mo, but the big gun wasn't getting it, and it's quite obviously because I'm choking this darn thing off or running her on 1/4-inch fitting. So anyway, but tires are off, and I have got, the frame supported up a bit. I'm not taking it off the wheels, just lifting on the suspension a bit, and then got another jack under the middle of the axle, and I've let it drop down so that we're away from the perches. So now we're going to start carving stuff apart. I think I'm going to start over here, chopping this one that's all jacked up the most apart. And then I threw one of my fire blankets in there over the rear air can and lines just so I don't burn them down. We're going to start torching. Okay, let's show you all these parts and pieces now. So just in case anybody was wondering what I was doing blowing through this like I did, the reason for that is that it had weld bead all the way along across the back side up against here, and rather than trying to gouge that weld out, it was easier to just cut straight through the weld and the part from the back side. And then I didn't have to cut quite all the way to the end. You can see there's weld bead stopped there, so that's where I was cutting from the other side from this way until I got to the end of the weld bead. Or no, I was cutting from this side, sorry. And then I just stopped. I hadn't quite got in deep enough, but I'd scored enough of it off from there that I was able to break it. So now we got a whole bunch of cleanup to do with the grinder. And then we got to start rebuilding this mess a piece at a time. Well, in light of having better access, been able to see it more now, I've decided to make a revision to the CAD here. We just downloaded some new data and decided that this thing, originally this was some kind of a casting welded with fabrication, but seeing this is going to be fabrication now, we fired CAD up and made ourselves a new template here. And we're going to just make both side plates all the way out of one piece. I can't see any reason that that's a problem. And that'll give us, 3/4 inch plate all the way up and save a weld joint. I can't think of any reason it's a bad idea. And then we'll just go ahead, weld a plate in between them here and plate it there. And that'll be as stronger than it ever was that way. So that's what we're about to do. But like I see, this is just, I wanted to show you the, like I say, new and improved CAD design here. Alright, so I've got some 1-inch plate here that we're going to use to make the wear pad part of this. That's going to be the sit-in here plate for the spring itself to ride up against. Now, I just thought I'd point something out. You're probably wondering, or maybe you're not, but why I've got this standing on edge instead of laying down flat. So, I tend to run fairly fine blades, and the reason is that I cut a lot of structural, like tubing, channel iron, stuff with irregular cross sections, where you just, if you have too coarse of a blade, you get too few teeth engaged, and you knock teeth out of your saw. The downside to that is that when I got something that's 5.5 inches wide, if I lay it down flat and start cutting it, my blade is not near low enough tooth count. What'll happen is, with those finer teeth, you're curling up a chip as you're cutting through there, right? Like the blade's drawn through, and it's making a continuous chip, curling it up ahead of that tooth. Well, if the cut is too long, it'll curl up a chip in there and fill up the void between the teeth with a chip before you get to the end of the cut. If that happens, it's got a nasty habit to wad up, jam up, and knock teeth out of your blade. So the solution for that is trying to cut stuff like this the thin direction if at all possible instead of the long direction. And that lets me get away with running my finer tooth blade on wider material. But every once in a while I end up in a situation where I have to cut something the flat way, and then I sit here super low feed rates on pins and needles until I've got the job done, and even then on a halfway regular basis I knock some teeth out of a blade doing it. So anyway, that's why this thing's standing up an edge instead of laying down flat. Alright, we've got this one kind of mocked up. I'm going to tack it together and then we're going to go try it out on there, see how it works. So let's get a few little tacks on it and then we'll go check it out. I'm going to tack it in 4 spots, I think. And go see what we think of her. Okay. Well, let's go see how that fits once. Basic idea looks pretty good. This spring is angled out a ways right now, so that's screwing with me. Other than that little bit, looks pretty good. Well, there's the rough start on a pair of spring perches. So what we got here is 3/4 inch side plate, 1 inch bottom plate. I ran, this is all 70-14. I ran 1 bead in the corner on this side. I don't dare put any more buildup on this side because the spring rides in there. There's a pretty good radius on the edge of the spring, so I think I can get away with 1 weld bead without it, interfering with the spring and how it sits. But not any more than that. And this is 5/32 rod, by the way. And then I ran 3 passes of 5/32 on the inside. Now, I realized that if you were going to get full strength welding 3/4 and 1 inch, that you'd need fillets that were, 3 times that size. But we don't really need, I'm not using stuff this thick for the structural strength, or using it so that it doesn't wear through it, right? Like it's got a lot of wear. So that's why I'm not going any crazier than I am welding that up. Remember, these are sitting on top of the originals, are sitting on a box made out of 1/4 inch plate. So that gives you some idea of how much strength the thing actually needed to have in it. So anyways, I'm just going with 3/4 inch all the way up to make life simpler for myself, not because it needed it. Good morning, everybody. So these have cooled off. I got out the CAD again, laid that on there. And by the way, I don't know if I ever showed how I did the hole in this. I got a small hole started in the middle and then held it over top of the one good existing one out there and took a rat tail file and opened up that hole to perfectly match the one on the original. So if it was anything more precision required than this, I wouldn't do that. But I think I mentioned the other day, but that bolt, all it does is keeps the spring from falling out of there. Like you go across a railroad track or something and the front axle's crossed, so the back one can't fall out of the suspension. So anyways, so we've got ourselves a couple of spots marked out. We're going to go set up on the radial drill and punch some holes through there now. Well, there's the first one nailed in. So all I got to do to this one now is I'm adding a plate there and there. Strength-wise, it probably doesn't need it, but I think for sure not as far as this frame's concerned. The only thing that might want it is if this gets pounded on long enough, I could see it cracking welds along that, and if there's a plate in there behind it, there's no way it's ever busting that loose. So anyway, and the originals were fully boxed in. Now they did it more because they were building it out of thinner stuff, but at any rate, I'm going to go ahead and I think switch to the other side. All right, well, there's that. We've got 2 mounts burned into place now. Time to take my come-along off there that was keeping the spring from putting pressure on stuff that I didn't want it to. And put my retainer bolt underneath, and then I think what I'm gonna do, gotta mull this over a minute. I think I'm gonna jack it up against it then and just see what it looks like. So anyway, we're making progress. Alright, I'm cutting both of those other side plates at the same time. They needed to be cut on a taper. They're 1/4 inch narrower at the top than they are at the bottom. I didn't point that out when I did it, but the reason for that is even with this heavy 3/4 inch plate, when I welded the 1-incher in here, I can probably show you this. It warped these 3/4 inch side plates. I don't know if you can see that. See if I can get it to zoom in here. All right, see how far off I am there? That's all rocking right here, right where I welded that plate. So it warped it. So what that means is it made this a bit narrow top. It did the same thing on the bottom a little bit, but I don't care that much. Don't really care about any of it. It's not that big a deal. But up there at the top, it had pulled in by 1/4 inch. You know, you figure each plate warped by 1/8 of an inch over that distance. So anyway, that's what we got going on here, is cutting them to match that taper, and then I'll do a little grinding on them and weld these in. There she is, burned in there. That is one spring mount complete. I just got capped the back side of this one, and we were ready to put the tires back on. Well, everybody, that's the end of that particular little adventure. After I plated that, I got studying it, and these are open into the back side here. I don't know if you can see that. And it lets them fill up with dirt. That's what's getting it. So I blew a hole down here at the bottom, and I'm going to tell them to hit that with a pressure washer and start blasting the dirt out of there. I gave it a drain hole. Did the same thing on this side. But anyways, we are completely done with this. She's ready to go haul some more dirt. So anyway, good project. Let me see here. How much time did I have into this? I got a quick... let's see here. I got to think about this. About 10 hours. 10, I guess closer to 11 hours into this to start to finish. Fab it up. I haven't figured it all out, but it'll be somewhere between the steel, the time, somewhere around $1,500 to rebuild the rear suspension in this thing. So just in case anybody wondered what a project like this costs, that's somewhere around it. When I figured out, I might add that as a line of text when I'm editing the video, just for your curiosity's sake. But anyway, she's ready to roll and go get some more work done.